Hel Hello YouTube, it is John and Lance, back for part 7, I believe, of Dr. Halsey's journal. Let's start with January 10th, 2536. Leonard Gillespie, a graduate student for Dr. Forrester, actually broke this. Impressive. I've had him transferred to Reach. I'll watch him closely. An energy shield was found on a Kig-Yar warrior type, canonically referred to as a jackal. Yet another misnomer. They look like birds to me. Not a particularly momentous find in itself, except this particular shield device looked much older than any we've seen before. Isotopic analysis has been troublesome so far due to the nature of the materials, but we should have a much clearer picture of its age soon. Most important, it wasn't entirely non-instrumental. A portion of its inner apparatus was not sealed. We've already learned much. Initial tests confirmed that with massive power input we can replicate and sustain a very small energy sealed surface areas. And we got some scans of how a energy shield on a jackal's arm looks, a little skeletal structure guessing of how a jackal itself looks with sketches. The mathematics, however, are not in our favor. No current ship design can come close to producing enough power to maintain shielding over a cabin, much less the whole vessel. But for Mjolnir, I must get my hands on this artifact. It may provide the opportunity I've sought for so long. May 25th, 2537. Kalmea and I have deciphered what may be a root diction to a meta-covenant language system, elements that also manifest in their operating system, another misnomer. Employing this symbolic logic appears to counter the accelerated cross-linkage effect in our AIs, making slow, very slow, but steady progress. March 18th, 2543. Wow, it's been 6 years. Found it! Now all I have to do is transcribe my notes from my new journal into this one. Perhaps I'll find shuffling papers and rebinding them a soothing therapy. Perhaps not, but as effective as this book may be at keeping my notes off the network, I must secure it from low-tech prying. I wouldn't always be able to keep it on me. I do tend to treat my personal things with less care. It'll probably spend half of its time buried in a corner of the lab, given my usual habits. It would be simple enough to implant a small strip of nanoscene explosive into the clasp and key it to my DNA, but as much as I might enjoy seeing one of my minders walking about a few fingers short, I'd likely employ something a tad more refined. March 21st, 2543. My experiment to sever portions of an AI from its living matrix strata and then reintegrate data and connections went flawlessly. I'm profoundly relieved. No literal cutting of the material was involved, rather a copy of the composite wave function was generated using similar neural scan technology employed in initial AI seeding. This pattern was then transferred to a blank matrix where new data was obtained and new connections made. But the real innovation is how the separated AI portion was then reintegrated with the mother AI strata. Optical repeaters maintained the boundary value wave functions at 0 within the original AI, but not indefinitely. Recommended no longer than an 8-day separation. Consequently, excised portion of an AI can learn and evolve autonomously. This new knowledge can then be reabsorbed into the parent matrix. Still a highly experimental process. I'm designing it non-sanctioned until I more carefully weigh the long-term ramifications. May 20th, 2544. Several counterinsurgency strategies that Section 3 has expended resources developing have failed to neutralize the ongoing Covenant threat. Notable exceptions: Spartan 2, Mjolnir, Gungar, Consequence, Bravado, as well as the new generation cloning and AI technologies. And one more discovered just today. The illegal entry protocols, Pi, used for hacking insurgent networks have deciphered a tiny portion of the aforementioned Jackal shield system. Just goes to show that no scrap of genius goes wasted. I've had Gerard dedicate all his runtime to further avenues of inquiry. Perhaps they can crack more. I already have enough data to run a simulated test for a Mjolnir energy shield system. Moreover, if we can understand their operating systems, we hope to gain insights into their language, their motivations. That might prove ultimately of more value than any weapon we could devise. I'd almost thought this thing was lost in one of the last few lab moves. Not that I could say anything about it if it was. Still, I'd be more careful, and I'll write more. So much going on, I have so much to say, I've grown accustomed to no one listening. September 3rd, 2547. Dr. Canterfield has asked for help. This all started innocently enough with me inquiring about the assumptions of the mu-tensor calculation with his latest paper in IC Phys Rev. SF space, Canterfeld responded, is literally slippery. He proceeded in his laser-precise manner to explain why his assumptions are valid and, with intellectual integrity, the areas of his research that continue to elude him. I want to help. I see the relevance of his theories in slipstream anomalies, faster ships, more accurate jumps. Who knows what other innovations could emerge from this work? We need those advantages to counter an enemy with superior technologies. I'm starting to doubt their superior intelligence. He has the highest level contacts and support at the UN. He might even be able to effect a transfer. I could be subsumed by such pure research, lost in the mathematics, all too easy to forget that so many might die, that they depend on me. What would that be like? How could I leave now when so many trails of my research are converging? The Vice Admiral calls it destiny. I call it purgatory, or Dharma. Why do I so easily invoke such archaic religious metaphors? In the end, it is simply my burden, and it may be all I have left to after giving up a normal life. Family, my Spartans, even the illuminated entities who I've come to understand. Ultimately, I must spend them all. I can't even tell Canterfeld why. I'll send a note tomorrow. Master equation for rate of incoming outgoing dimensions in Sha-Fujiwaka space. Non-equilibrium probability. I'm not even going to read these equations. I may have put up a thing in the descriptions listing them if you really ask. September 4th, 2547. Over the years, an idea has pre-correlated in my subconscious. I suppose it's an intriguing possibility that I've contemplated in one form or another all my life, even as an impressionable young child when my father recruited every adventurous tale of L. Frank Baum's Oz. Wow, 500 years in the future and people are still reading The Wizard of Oz. But now I've assembled and accreted all the disparate components, the last by mere happenstance. Do I possess the metal to do this? Not that I would even entertain some puerile belief in fate or luck or anything from among the host of superstitions many cling to. Still, there is something. The battle-worn frigate Tripping Light has arrived in dry dock. Her FTL drive is slated for final spin-down removal and disposal at 16:15 today. Enough musing and procrastination. I must act quickly. And, ooh, this is interesting. And no, this is not my own doing. There is a deliberately ripped out page in the book. It came ripped out, which I think adds a little bit to the realism. I'm guessing whatever knowledge in this was too, I don't know, sensitive to be in the journal. Just some sort of spoiler. I don't know. I find it clever though that they did that. September 5th, 2547. Most of my friends from my youth are now dead. Every day I check the KIA lists on the UNSC subnet, afraid to even admit to myself what names I'm looking for. The closest friends left are the AIs that surround me. But it occurs to me that they are all technically dead, too. Perhaps burning brighter and more alive than any of us. March 24th, 2549. We have successfully used our hardware and algorithms to scan and imprint neural networks from human brains to AI seeds, and much lower intensities we imprint ephemeral low-order structure, i.e. short-term memories between two participant intellects. This is not telepathy, as Dr. Forrester calls it. It imparts the same neural network imprint as audio sent, visual, and similar stimulations, minus the sensory input part, of course. The rest is a direct human-to-AI neural linkage. Field test pending. Must get those done soon. This is the final Mark V upgrade we need. My final gift to the Spartans. A gift that will make them ferociously effective against the technology of the Alright, the last thing I can offer to help them survive. Why then do I feel that by combining Spartan and AI, I lose both? Is there any choice left? May 21st, 2549. Today I broke civilian laws, UNC military regulations, and UN colonial mortal dictata. Far from the first time. Extreme measures, necessary measures. New candidates lack both physical and intellectual agility. Still, the law is unequivocal. No living human's brain may be used as an AI matrix seed. The ultra-deep personality scans destroy the organic substrate. I shouldn't speak ill of the dead, those who have donated their organs post-mortem, the bodies of the valiant scientific pioneers, heroes all. Simply put, my third-gen smart AIs require better material. The solution, though illegal and unethical, was simple and obvious. I've cloned myself. Used the same mothballed equipment used to create clones of the Spartan candidates. This time, however, I've enhanced the neural psychology at the expense of all other bodily functions. Almost no one knows, and those who do can be trusted. The equipment is hidden and secure from all save my eyes. Disquieting watching copies of myself grow, malformed, and curled into a fetal position. I grieve for them. I want to allay their suffering. We must all make sacrifices, especially now. July 29th, 2549. We successfully excised all brains from their bodily shells and placed them in cryogenic units. Only 7 weeks to completion of my personality transfer. I haven't decided whether to tell them they are or were me. How do you even broach such a topic? Not after what happened to Ralph. And what would I call them? Sisters? Daughters? My superegos? All parameters are green. I flash incinerated remaining organic substrates. My relief is palpable. September 9th, 2549. Arcadia is gone. This wasn't the first time it was attacked. The Covenant came in 2531, destroyed the orbital refinery complex and the major population centers on the planet. Admiral Cole and his fleet intervened and destroyed the enemy. The colonists fled after the initial battles, yet over the intervening 18 years they slowly returned and rebuilt. It's rare that anyone returns to a world once left in ruin by the Covenant. Very rare. Arcadia became a symbol of humanity's resilience. Then several weeks ago, the Covenant returned to finish the job. Last, and if evacuative, if not entirely accurate term, I've seen partial reports of colonies obliterated, leaving millions of casualties. This time I have a near complete record of the attack from an orbiting weather satellite, repurposed at the last moment by some perspicacious meteorologist. I watched the entire event, the Covenant arrival via slipspace, the plasma bombardment, the careful immolation of every vital part of the planet. Such a massive fleet, much larger than what they usually use to eradicate one of our colonies. It was terrible, so much power for so much death. I know that some would smirk at the idea of the callous Dr. Halsey shrinking from any destruction, but this was harrowing. I watched because I had to. I couldn't pass on the possibility of learning something from this footage. Every moment of my viewing was agony. There is a personal mystery of whether the Covenant glasses the entire surface of a world or merely uses those ungodly weapons to destroy all meaningful resistance, saving the rest of the planet for other purposes. The energy required to quickly dispatch a planet as well. If they continuously had that magnitude of power at their disposal, there would be no human Covenant ship-to-ship battles. They would win, instantly, without expectation. So why did Arcadia suffer such a merciless onslaught? Did it pose a threat to them, have religious or political value, or was it a message for us? The satellite was destroyed before the event was complete. Arcadia's final moments forever lost. September 14th, 2549. Hacked into the redacted portions of other Arcadia reports. They show civilian transports fleeing by the hundreds. As we've known from previous Covenant attacks, they often shoot down these transports before they make the transition to slipstream space. This time they shifted their main plasma beam to catch the shuttle's outbound trajectories, broiling the ships in orbit. It's so easy for them to destroy us. November 7th, 2549. Specimens H, 2, 3, and 4 remain in cryogenic suspension. I have other future plans for them as technology evolves. The H1 specimen's neural pattern has been transferred and authenticated to an AI matrix strata. Initiation sequence completed within normal quantum flux tolerances. Must conceal my unease. She has no idea I've planted a viral termination code in her kernel, or she does and already isolated and bypassed it, having the tact not to mention it to me. She calls herself Cortana. She spoke her first words, in Italian. When the game is over, the king and the pawn go into the same box. The words are my mother's, spoken to me after our first game of chess, the first and last time she won. Morality, mortality, and metaphor. I'm delighted with Cortana. She has resumed a rather simple human appearance, much to my relief. So many of the Oni AIs adopt such theatrical personas, minus the fact she does not wear pants. Her face resembles mine when I was fresh out of college, so wonderful, naive, eager to learn. It's almost like looking into a mirror. A mirror without pants. I'm going to once again mention this. Cortana did not wear pants. An AI could easily give themselves pants. What? Why is she not wearing pants? Part of her looks like Miranda. Part is purely her own invention. Her intellect is simply ferocious. Success. Wait, Miranda. Wait. Miranda Keyes, daughter of Captain Keyes. Keyes and Halsey seem close. Halsey has a daughter. Could it be? Could it be that Miranda Keyes is the daughter of Dr. Halsey? Oh my god! And mind you, if you don't know, I already knew this a while back. I was just waiting till now to tell you. Thank you for people for not spoiling this in the comment section of any of the past videos. I'm grateful for that. April 6th, 2550. Last entry for today. Years ago, despite my best efforts, I couldn't dissuade Miranda from joining the UNSC or OCS, or finally requesting duty on a ship of the line. Not that she was even answering my letters at that point. I tried reason and logic. She had always been resistant to those. Initially, she likely joined the military to impress her father. After all, she had her name legally changed. Should have tried to dissuade her. Instead, I let her go, quietly arranging to have her assigned to the outermost colonies on the Hilbert, an antiqued science vessel from the days of colonial expansion, now refit for long-range sensing. I believe it was the safest position any UNSC officer could be stationed. Lamentably, despite desperate times make martyrs of innocents and heroes of survivors, the foolishly brave who defy all odds and live, they make commanders of them, apparently. Miranda and her crewmates rammed the Hilbert into a Covenant destroyer as it attacked 3 UNSC corvettes that were ironically responding to their distress call. The Covenant had properly ignored her vessel as it had no weapons that could penetrate enemy shields. Miranda must have inherited her father's unconventional strategic, suicidal thinking, because she gave the order to critically overload her ship's engines and nudge the enemy vessel into the gravity well of Gamma Pt.7. Even a Covenant destroyer with energy shields can't survive a fiery atmosphere descent at terminal velocity and the subsequent surface impact followed by the Hilbert's exploding fusion reactors. Randy was the only one of 2 of Hilbert's crew to make it to the escape pods, and now Lord Hood has personally presented her with the new commander's insignia, a silver star and her own frigate to the command, in amber clad. After years of silence, she invited me to the ceremony. I didn't go, because her father would be there, because I am neck deep in final stages of half-dozen projects. I know why I didn't go. I don't want to say it. And that is all for today. We're getting close to the end. We're in the 2550s. Soon we'll be talking about direct events that happen in Halo Reach. So this is John L. Lance. Please join me next time for another dramatic reading of Dr. Halsey's journal.